Greetings, grade 9, and welcome to your 16th lesson in economic applications. Today, we shall be looking at one more way of demarcating the Indian economy, that is on the basis of the habitation. So on the basis of habitation, we either have the urban area or the rural area. We call it the urban and the rural sector. In India, almost 68.8% of the population lives in the rural sector, while 31.2% lives in the urban area or the urban sector. And definitely this is not a very good trend, because in most developed nations, almost 80% or more than 80% of the population always stays in the urban area. Anyway, some of the features of the rural sector in our country is that the rural sector is dependent on agricultural and primary activities. It means that most of the occupation, or the most important occupation in the rural sector, is mostly agriculture or agriculture related activities. Also, the population density in the area is much lesser than the urban area, and this is essentially because people are segregated in farms, and farming normally requires a much spread out of the population as compared to the urban area, where people stay in close proximity. Also, agriculture is a very dominant occupation, as we already said, in the rural sector, which also means that even if a person is not dependent on agriculture, somehow he is related to agriculture. Trader in the rural sector, you will be trading agricultural goods. If you are involved in transportation, you will be transporting agricultural goods. If you are a banker, you will be a banker to most of your clients will be your customers will be farmers and people from the agricultural sector. Normally in the rural sector, the infrastructural facilities like roads, communication, banking is much undeveloped as compared to the urban area. And also the rural area suffers from what we call a disguised unemployed. In other words, we will not see an outright unemployment in the rural sector. We will see that people will be working, that people have employment, but in reality, employed in very unproductive work, which means that it is almost the same as not working at all. So another way of looking at that is that if a job requires 20 people, there will be 100 people doing the same job. So most of the people in the rural sector are unemployed in a disguised manner, and we call it disguised unemployment. In the urban area, the people are mostly dependent on secondary and tertiary activities in manufacturing and in services, while the density of population is much higher in the urban area and people live in close proximity to one another. However, in the urban area, these areas enjoy better economic and social infrastructural facilities. They have better roads, banking, they have better power facilities. At the same time, the services in terms of medical, health, these are also are provided in a much better manner, and also they have access to these services in the urban area. So that is one of the reasons why people in the rural area mostly like to migrate over to urban areas. Also, in the urban area, most of the people who are unemployed are educated or employed because their industries has shifted, or there is lack of demand in a particular industry and the factory has closed down. There is also a higher incidence of environmental pollution in the urban areas, and this leads to various kind of health problems in that particular sector. So therefore, I would like you to go over the notes that has been provided with this particular lesson while you look at the urban area and the rural area in the Indian economy. Thank you. Until we meet in the next lesson, take care of yourselves.